Got as much meat as battle raising, just face it. While I'm steady on the track, you with your bags at the station. What I'm rated, S-class minimum. You said.
Let us discuss the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, which was actually not that bad. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as Raw usually is. Before, it was a step up. But since Raw has been in the doldrums for several months, it's actually not that big of a surprise that the first decent Monday Night Raw in months would be something when they actually change things up. But even though they supposedly changed things up, there's still some running threads that WWE loves to do, like the Everybody Comes to the Ring job application segment, where all these guys come to the ring with their resumes, and instead of just, filing it somewhere and giving it to human resources like normal people, they come out and they start saying, I'm a former Universal Champion, I'm a former Intercontinental Champion, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I gotta deal without this, I don't know how we could have got here without the opening promo where everybody comes in, but the first 20 minutes of the show was this, I didn't really need that. Also you had Biggie open the show with like a monologue. I could kind of do without that too, but it makes sense in this situation. I just don't need a weekly Saturday Night Live opening monologue from the WWE champion or whoever's going to be in the main event of the show or whoever is the main story of the show. We could do things a little bit faster, because I was like, okay, because Biggie was doing Biggie stuff. He was doing, let people chant for the Astros, doing a lot of babyface stuff. It was like, all right, a lot of this seems like a non sequitur, But it was a good opening segment. Seth Rollins wanted to be the number one contender. Came out there as if he never lost at Hell in a Cell. Finn Balor also came out there like he never lost at Hell in a Cell. Ray Mysterio came out there like he didn't lose in the King of the Ring tournament. And Kevin Owens came out there like he hadn't been getting beat up by Baron Corbin for weeks on end. So it was a fresh start for everybody. Nobody really, even though they did acknowledge that guys lost, they just kind of like, hey, no big deal, because this is the WWE. Wins or losses don't really matter, right? So Sonya Deville set up the ladder match main event. Finn Balor versus Ray Mysterio versus Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. The winner will face the WWE champion at an undetermined time and date. So the match itself, there was promos during the show, but it wasn't anything major that I need to go over. The match itself was a very fun match. And I have been very critical of WWE in the past for not doing something like this on TV and not doing a big ladder match or something, usually to blow off a feud or something like that, or to avoid rematches, because these one-off kinds of matches will not happen all the time, So there was a show full of rematches here, stuff that we've already seen before that's pretty much given a new coat of paint to a degree. But this was the first truly fresh thing that felt new on this show, was that they did a ladder match in the main event. And it was a pretty good match. It was guys, it wasn't as Daredevil-ish as it would have been like on a pay-per-view or something like that. And my favorite spot, of course, is Ray riding the ladder. That was crazy. I got a kick out of that. Only because I think that it should have hurt him too, because he had his legs open on the ladder. But Seth Rollins wins the match, and so it'll be Seth Rollins versus Biggie, which is what I figured it would be. And the novelty of this is what made it really fun. It made it really fun, and they gave us some time too, so it was good. Now you have to think about what's next for all the guys who didn't win. They have to now, next week they can begin to file into different positions on the card. It ought to be great. I don't like that we put Finn Balor in this situation to lose again. But, I got to stop. Somebody at some point has got to address that the top rope broke. Somebody's got to address this, man. We can't just. It's like when the anonymous Raw general manager. It's probably gonna be like 4 years It's gonna be like GTV or something like that. It's gonna be like 6 years later. They're gonna be like, remember when that top rope broke? It was me. And it was like, what? You weren't even in the company at the time. You weren't even born yet. Or some silly stuff like that. But not having anybody address the top rope breaking is killing me, man. It's killing me. Giving it to Seth Rollins seems like a cop out at the beginning, of course, because Seth is the top heel. I'm guessing from looking at the roster, Seth is the top heel. There is nobody on his level as far as being a heel is concerned on the roster. So it's like you go immediately to the top heel instead of maybe going with somebody else a little over on the card first. But I guess it's the right decision. Now you have time to build up somebody behind Seth. Because I see the Seth Big E thing going, I don't know, maybe a short-term feud. Because we already know that Big E and, Roman is probably going to end up being the match Survivor Series. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. They could easily do Roman versus Seth. But I wouldn't do that. Only because you don't want to run the risk of turning somebody. So I think it's pretty safe that Big E is going to end up beating Seth Rollins, which is cool. It's a good name for his resume, even though I do think that I wouldn't be surprised if Seth won the title. I really wouldn't. I think that I think the big match that they're really going to build to is probably going to be Big E versus Edge. That should be the big match later on. Now, I did hear some people say, this is going to take the steam out of, TLC or something like that. I'm like, man, TLC, they should get rid of TLC, if anything. Actually, I heard that they did get rid of TLC. I don't know how true it is. I haven't looked at the schedule. But I heard they got rid of TLC. If that's the case, then this is perfectly fine. Even if TLC was still there, it's still 2 months away. So you can do a ladder match now. We didn't do a ladder match in 2 months. They did a ladder match 2 months ago, didn't they? Wait, that was Money in the Bank. That was in June. All right, so it was 4 months ago. All right, so I'm not really tripping about that. So the next match was also a fatal four-way. It was also a triple threat match for the number one contender to the tag team titles. They announced AJ and Amos versus Randy Orton and Riddle, and I instantly wanted to throw everything because I didn't want to see that match again. And then they changed it to the winners of this match got to wrestle Randy Orton and Riddle. So it was Alpha Academy versus the Street Profits versus the Dirty Dogs. And they put the Dirty Dogs over, which was interesting, by having Amos punch out Dawkins of the Street Profits. So it looks like we're going to end up having the Street Profits team against Amos and AJ Styles. That ought to be fun, That ought to be fun. It's as talented as the Street Profits are, I get that you don't want them to be the champions all the time, because they did have a really long run. Last time they were on Raw, they had a really long run. That led into the first title swap, where they swapped titles with the New Day. So they kind of want to not give them, make them the only tag team. So you want to build up their eventual, win for the titles. All right, cool. They've been kind of avoiding giving Street Profits too much. So that makes sense. It's okay. Alpha Academy, they can just wait. They need to be reheated because Alpha Academy had a good thing going on SmackDown for a little while. And then they kind of took them off TV, which is a fatal mistake. You almost always kill a character when you take them off TV. It's not losing that kills you. It is taking you off TV. That is because people didn't have an opportunity to forget that you exist. That's been a big thing with Karrion Kross lately. I don't care how ridiculous he looks. As long as he's on TV doing something, people can at least watch the progression. They can see the progression. When you go off TV for a month, which I think he's been gone a month now, then people are kind of like, okay, is this guy fired? Is he hurt? Is he sick? Or out of sight, out of mind? So that's kind of what it was for Alpha Academy. It was out of sight, out of mind. Otis was killing guys on SmackDown for a little while. They looked like they were going to be in line to be the tag team champions. And then out of nowhere, they just got took off TV and they vanished. So now they're back, so I guess you got to reheat them. This was a good opportunity to do so. I think they would have been great opponents for Randy Orton and Riddle, but unfortunately we got the Dirty Dogs. Not that I hate the Dirty Dogs or anything like that. It's just that we knew they weren't going to win. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. And of course, they didn't win. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler were defeated by Riddle and Randy Orton. They had to wrestle twice, so I guess that's a good excuse to why they lost. I did enjoy the match stuff between Riddle and Dolph Ziggler, though. Riddle being very annoying about Halloween costumes and saying that they should be Mario and Luigi, and that Randy should be Luigi because green makes his eyes pop. I was like, why? Again, we're not really progressing this storyline. It's just we're letting Riddle be ridiculous. And the latent homosexuality of it is really is becoming weird. But I think we're almost at the point where Riddle is going to end up being the Mickey James to Randy Orton's Trish Stratus. I just think they're going to have a match, and it's going to be like Riddle completely, being weird with Randy. But right now, Rated RK Bro is still a tag team that everybody gets into their matches. Roode and Ziggler are good first opponents. I think, is it time to break them up? It's a question I really want to bring up. Because I really like Roode and Ziggler. I like them as a tag team, but they're not being used properly. And since, these guys ain't doing nothing but getting older, I think that if we're ever going to actually have anything with Robert Roode, he has to get out of this tag team. And maybe if we get him out of the tag team, he actually ends up in a worse position. But I think that might be better off than being stuck in this tag team. He's been in this tag team with Dolph Ziggler for 2 years? And before that, he was in a tag team with Gable for like 1.5 years or something like that. So he's been mostly a tag team guy in WWE. He was mostly a tag team guy in TNA as well. But I think that having seen what he can do as a solo act, it is criminal that we're not utilizing, at least in some respect, him as a solo act. And I kind of want to do that. And Dolph Ziggler, he's kind of an also-ran where people, it doesn't matter what you do with Dolph, doesn't matter how good Dolph is. People just expect Dolph to be good. They just kind of accept it and take it as take it for granted that Dolph is good. His promos are good. His matches are good. But he's not going anywhere, So it's like, he's not ever going up too far on the card. He's never going to go down too far on the card. He's just there. And that's not a good thing for Robert Roode. He's been on the roster for 3 years now. It's about time 3 or maybe 4 years, I think he was in there in 2018 because he won the U.S. title. So he needs to break out, It's about time to let him break out. I do like the Dirty Dogs, though. I do like them as a team. I like Big Bob and Big Dolph. All right, so Selena Vega had her coronation. And, this is the interesting thing, because while the coronation segment itself was, it was what it was, there was an article that was floating around about Vince McMahon congratulating Selena Vega after she won the Queen's Crown Cup, or whatever. And he said to her that she came in as the queen and now it's official. And, I always like these. This is one of my Vince McMahon things. Is I always like that he, he's the one who decided who wins and who loses. And yet he still congratulates them as if they completely and totally earned it. Like when he congratulated Eddie after Eddie won the WWE title. It's like Vince probably knew 2 weeks ahead of time that Eddie was winning the title, But he still acts like he wasn't the decision maker. Like, congratulations, pal. Good job. Like, what? Like, what? Like, wasn't this your decision? Like, all of this was... But, it's still pretty cool because I guess in that moment, it's real to the performer and he makes it real by, coming to them and patting them on the back and telling them, good job, pal. I always find that story to be so odd. That Vince McMahon gives this person a big pat on the back for a decision that he made and they went out there and did it. Like, okay. But it always just comes across as being funny. In any event, Zelina Vega comes out there and she cuts a promo. She gets on Mike Rome's back about her introduction. She makes him redo it, which he does with a little bit more emphasis. on her being the one true queen of WWE. She starts talking about how she's not going to be underappreciated anymore and that none of the other girls had a chance. And then she asked the question, what kind of queen will I be? Will I be ruthless? Will I be kind? Will I be merciful? Yada, yada, yada. Everybody's backstage watching, including Rhea Ripley, who I'm guessing has some kind of replica tag team title belt. And she's probably wearing somebody else's clothes. So I'm not sure. Because I know her bag disappeared or got stolen or something like that. So who knows what's going on with her. But everybody's watching, and Doudrop has enough. She's growing very tired of, Zelina Vega out here talking and running her mouth. So then we leads to Zelina Vega wrestling Doudrop again, which I was not a fan of. We just saw this match, literally just watched it. She's now being billed as Queen Zelina, so not Zelina Vega, but now Queen Zelina, Zelina La Reina. And we got this thing where the size difference between the two is so weird. But what makes it even weirder is that Doudrop is working extra light. If you go watch Doudrop do some of her moves, for instance, she did a move where I think it was an axe handle, where she hits Zelina with an axe handle, and it looked like you were hitting an infant. It's like you would be play fighting with a baby. I was like, what kind of match is this? Where Doudrop is moving so slowly with this axe handle and it's so light. And Zelina didn't take a big bump with it. And I was like, all right, that's the magic of wrestling, but come on, she should have just bowled her over. Make Zelina take the bump. I know she probably might would have got hurt or something like that, but come on. You're exposing yourself here when you work really, really light with Zelina, even though she's so small. And maybe it's a test for Doudrop that she's not going to go in there and pull a Nia Jax and just blow people's heads off. But there's an element of realism to Nia Jax taking people's heads off, because she can take people's heads off. No different than when Vader used to go in there and pummel Mick Foley or something like that. I would expect somebody the size of Nia Jax or somebody the size of Doudrop to pummel an opponent. And then we work our way into, Zelina hitting her with the scepter and that kind of stuff. But with Doudrop working really light, it made the match look completely fake and phony, and I was out of it. I was like, not only did I just see this match, wasn't really a big fan of it at the time, but it was also very weird because I was like, man, typical WWE booking would be Zelina Vega gets beat this time, and she would lose her first match as queen. But I'm surprised that she actually did win. But I am glad that she won. I'm glad that she cheated. She hit her with the scepter while the referee's back was turned. It was very well put together. Zelina went to the turnbuckle, took the turnbuckle pad off, threw it down. The referee went to go put the turnbuckle back on. Zelina grabs the scepter, whops it across Doudrop's head and pinned her. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Didn't kill Doudrop at all. Doudrop did more damage to herself by working light than Zelina did by beating her by hitting her with a scepter. So it all works out in the end. No big deal there. So then the next match, it wasn't even a match. After we got Zelina Vega coming out there to talk about how she's the best of the best and she's, the queen, the one true queen of WWE, Becky Lynch comes out. She begins her monologue about being the Raw Women's Champion and about how she never lost that title. And it's the title she won at WrestleMania, and she never lost it. And nobody's ever beat her for the title and all this kind of stuff. And her record-breaking, earth-shattering win at Crown Jewel. And, all these new women won't stand a chance. And then she went down the laundry list of all these people that you and me wants to see her beat. And she's still being very delusional, which I like. She thinks that everybody still likes her, which is sort of nice, because people still do like her, but she is a heel. So it's a situation where she still is popular, very popular. People still pop when she comes out. She talks as if she's the biggest baby face on the planet, even though she's a cowardly heel. And she still gets mostly positive reactions. Only when up against somebody who's a bigger babyface does she actually get negative reactions. So it's an interesting scenario that they got here where, Becky is, her ego is out of control. So, but there's reason for it because, people keep responding the way that they do to her coming out there. So Bianca Belair comes out there, of course, because who else would it be? And she says that she's not ashamed of losing that crown jewel because she didn't get beat. And she said that since she didn't lose, she should get a rematch, and that Becky's 26 seconds of fame are up. They bickered back and forth. Then Bianca Belair kind of lays into the real part of the promo. Like it almost felt like the promo made was she could have got right to this point. Like, that Becky is bothered by the fact that she's returned, but everybody is kind of moved on. And, these people still support me, and you think they support you. And that bothers you. And that, you with this big time Bex demand, everything, you're still searching for validation, And she kind of lays the same promo on Becky that Alexa Bliss laid on Charlotte. That, I'm the EST, even without the belt. I'm still the strongest, fastest, whatever. Like, well, who are you without the championship? Who are you without the title? It was fine, This led to Becky Lynch said, "You want a title match? Back of the line, bitch." so they got into a fight. They sort of 50-50 booked the fight where, there's parts of it where Bianca's being dominant. There's other parts where Becky is, has the advantage. Then Becky escapes, and she then accepts Bianca Belair's challenge, but not for tonight. The match is actually set for next week. Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. And that's a good match to set for that show. I like the idea. The execution, though, because it feels like disqualification bait. It just, anytime a WWE RAW match is announced, and it's explicitly not no disqualifications, you could pretty much guarantee that a disqualification is coming. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, 10 minutes in, maybe 15 minutes before Becky Lynch grabs a kendo stick or something like that and hits Bianca Belair with it, or takes the belt and runs. So my only hope is that they do the match. If they're going to do that match first and get it out of the way. That's my only hope. Is that, if you're going to have a disqualification, don't do it at 10:30, 10:50. Then I'm going to be mad. Do it early. Do it at, 8:15. That way we can watch the rest of the show without having to worry about that shit. And we have an opportunity to find something else positive about the show rather than waiting 3 hours for a main event that's going to end in disqualification. The likelihood of Bianca Belair winning, I would give it about 20%. I think there's a 40% chance of disqualification, a 40% chance of Becky Lynch cheating, and a 20% chance of Bianca Belair actually winning the title. I think it's far more likely that Becky Lynch will win by cheating, or the match will end by disqualification or count out. So, but the segment itself was okay. I just felt like we've seen that segment 100 times already. I just feel like we've seen that segment with Bianca Belair arguing with a horsewoman, and horsewomen being told they're nothing without the title and all that kind of stuff. I think we've seen that segment 100 times already. What we haven't seen 100 times is Damian Priest's new entrance. And you know what? Let's, in lieu of talking about these matches, which there were no point in talking about these matches, let's talk about the new entrances. Damian Priest, Carmella, and Keith Lee all have new entrances and new themes. And they were 0 for 3 in all of them. Okay, 0 for 3. They struck the fuck out. All right. Now, obviously, the new themes comes with new characters. Damian Priest is no longer the Archer of Infamy and is now a half man, half devil, half angel type of character. And Carmella is now the beautiful diamond of WWE. And of course, we have Bearcat, or Keith the Bearcat Lee. And these new themes are meant to represent these new characters. So how well did they really do? All right, so Damian Priest, his new theme has a bit of a choir tinge to it, but I just love the NXT theme so much that there was no real reason to change it. You could have done this same character change, same gimmick, but without changing his theme song. You know, like there's something to be said about trying to make iconic theme songs like in the past. Like that's a big thing. Now that I think about it, you know, guys changing their theme songs used to be very rare. You know, like only during major character changes, like when Triple H went from literally being Hunter Hearst Helmsley to literally being like almost completely different character in Triple H. That's when you would change his theme song. But just, you know, moderate changes to the character meant, you know, changes to the gimmick. Like when they did, I think they did do it to Triple H actually. His first theme song, actually, they got rid of it when he became the Intercontinental Champion, I think. And it became more of an, what was it? What was that? More of an orchestra kind of thing. It was awful. That's when he had Mr. Hughes as a bodyguard. And then he was stuck with that for a little while. And he ended up in the DX thing. But there are other guys like Shawn Michaels had the same theme song for 40 years. You know, just with minor changes, like Sherry singing his song at first to now him singing it. And that's pretty much it. No matter what he really underwent as a character, he really didn't change his theme song. And in those weird situations where they would use like the DX theme for Shawn Michaels, I always hated it. You know, I always hated when they would do those odd situations. Like they did at WrestleMania 23, where he was in the main event of the show and they played the DX theme. I'm like, why would you do that? You know, like that makes no sense. So I really think they should be trying to make iconic theme songs, and theme songs become iconic when people like them, and when they last a long time, they become almost a one-to-one with a specific wrestler. Now they're changing people's themes multiple times a year. Within the same calendar year, Carmella has had 2 different theme songs. Why? You know, there was no real need to change her gimmick. You know, she could have had the same gimmick, but still called herself, you know, the Diamond of WWE. Still could have called herself that just by, you know, wearing the mask and explaining why she has the mask, which she did. She explained why she has to wear this, which is the bedazzled carbon fiber mask, which it looks ridiculous. It really looks ridiculous. But it plays into the new character, you know, and that matters more than how she looks. Because nobody wants to see Carmella wrestle anyway. You know, nobody really cares that much about it. She's not terrible. She's not very good either. You know, she can get through something if she's carried. But they put her in the ring typically with people who she has to carry. You know, like Liv Morgan. Again and again and again and again and again. Not smart, not good. But I don't like Carmella's new theme. It's awful. It's generic. And it's not as awesome as her when she returned against Sasha Banks. Like that theme was really good. You know, I really liked that theme. I think it fit her character so much better. But this new thing is generic. It's not good. Bearcat Keith Lee, they changed everything about him. They changed his gear. They made him shave again. I don't understand why this man can't have a beard. Why do they want him looking like a Goomba from Super Mario Brothers? Why do you want this man looking like that? Let the man keep his beard, please. If it's a Keith Lee decision, I implore Keith Lee, please leave your beard in place, sir. Leave it alone. You look like an adult male and not a giant mud pie. Leave your beard alone, sir. But they changed his theme too. Now, the beat to Keith Lee's theme is actually not bad. The doom, 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 doom. That is not bad. But it's the animal sounds that's in it. It's almost like the Mark Merrill, wow, and he's clawing his way onto Monday Night Raw. See, that shit, I hate that shit. That he's the puns. He's gonna claw his way to Monday Night Raw. He's got claws all over his tights, and there's "rawr" in his theme song. I'm like, bro, that is too much. You're overdoing it. It's too much. Stop this. Turn the character down, man. It don't need to be this way. You know, you can do he's not gonna be Wild Man Keith Lee, you know, and his random roaring, I don't know about that either. I think once they find the right pocket for the character, it'll be okay. Keith Lee has all the tools in the world to be world champion and a top guy. And I fully believe that he will be there. I think the same thing about Damian Priest. Damian Priest is wearing eyeliner, which I have to mention that now. Whenever I see somebody wearing eyeliner and I don't understand why, I'm going to mention, like, Undertaker wearing eyeliner makes sense. He's supposed to be dead. So him being pale in the face and everything, okay, he wore his makeup. But why is Damian Priest wearing eyeliner? Is it just a rock star thing? Because I think that's his character. Still supposed to be kind of a rock star. But he's supposed to be half devil, half man now. Or half devil, half angel. All right, I can understand the yin and the yang concept. And I like that. I just don't like that they changed his theme song in order to do it. I liked his entrance as it was. Carmella, I like the idea of her being the diamond of WWE. The mask is a little gimmicky. It's too comedic. I don't like the theme song, though. The theme song is whack. Bearcat Keith Lee, I appreciate that he wants to celebrate Bearcat rights, but he should have known that you give anything to WWE that has anything to do with animals, they're going to overdo it. Randy Orton is slithering, and now Keith Lee is clawing. It's not good, bro. it's not good. No. They 0 for 3. I cannot sanction the new theme songs. The Keith Lee theme wouldn't be so bad if we hadn't already had Bask in My Glory, which was an excellent theme song and I think fit him perfectly. And it fit that character perfectly. Now I understand they changed the character, they want to change the theme song. But you didn't really need to. You could have added Bearcat while leaving the theme song exactly the same. And I mean his NXT thing, not the theme song it took him forever to get when he finally got on. And speaking of in the same calendar year, he's had 4. Remember, he had his NXT Bask in His Glory theme song. Then they had the generic theme song that he came with when he brought him up to Raw last year. Then he changed it to a version where he was rapping on it, which was better than the previous version, but not nearly as great as Bask in His Glory, which he was also rapping on. And this version, this Bearcat theme is just wow, boom, 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 and it's like, okay, all right, but it goes to show that there was no. I really cringe about what we got coming down the pike for Karrion Kross because I loved his theme song too. I thought his theme song and his entrance was excellent. I'm pacing the floor and scratching my head and, twiddling my thumbs. So I'm thinking to myself, they already put the man in straps. They already put him in a BDSM mask. What more could they do to Karrion Kross, man? And I was just thinking to myself, like, look what they did to Damian Priest and Keith Lee. Oh, I don't know, man. I'm getting anxious. But I guess I have to touch on the matches because the matches do play a role in how the characters are presented and everything. So despite the fact that I wanted to skip talking about the matches, I guess I have to talk about the matches. So Damian Priest wrestled T-Bar, who is still T-Bar, despite the fact that he keeps talking about changing everything. I'm guessing he can still change everything. It's just because he's T-Bar right now doesn't mean he's going to be T-Bar in 2 weeks. This is what we see with WWE now. They're just going through and changing people. They just flipping the tables all the time. So just because he's T-Bar still now doesn't mean he'll be T-Bar in 2 weeks. So they have a fairly decent match. T-Bar is not a bad worker. It's always been a character thing with him. His personality and his character is not right. So in order to get disqualified in this championship contenders match, which is my favorite kind of match, he throws an announcer's stage chair at Damian Priest and hit him with it. This led Damian Priest to absolutely nut up on him and completely wreck T-Bar. And people think this was a heel turn. Like, why would it be a heel turn for you to beat the shit out of somebody who threw a chair at you? That's not a heel turn. That's you beating the dog shit out of somebody who threw a chair at you, which is appropriate. Okay, it's 100% sanctioned. It's okay for you to beat the hell out of people who throw chairs at you. So they showed the character that he was willing to play fair, have a fair match, and then he dances on the line. So when T-Bar wanted to take it there, he was willing to go there. He's willing to go there fully and beat the dog shit out of T-Bar, which is okay, cool. Now, of course, this leads to a rematch later. Maybe, hopefully, it leads to a character change for T-Bar. So Carmella they have now decided she's going to start putting her mask on before the match. And she's wrestling Liv Morgan again, who she says is just a jealous hater. And Liv Morgan, of course, gets no promo time, gets nothing. And Carmella wrestles in a mask. She looks ridiculous. But I think that's part of the character. Part of the character is that she thinks she's so beautiful. And she's actually covering her face to prevent her face from being damaged. Her money maker. I do like the fact that they are announcing that she and Corey Graves are together. Like, they didn't hide it on TV this time. So this is good. And when Liv Morgan had the very brief advantage, she actually was mocking Corey Graves. So that was pretty cool. It was a nice little interesting thing. I was hoping they would just add him to her gimmick. I think that would be a different usage. I think I've been thinking about that for a while now, about how they should just integrate Corey Graves more as a character into the show instead of leaving him as a commentator. That he would be great as, Carmella's, I don't want to say her heavy, but as being her manager or something like that. And since we know the relationship between the two of them, I think that would be nice. It would be an interesting dynamic but you can always leave him at commentary so he can talk about how beautiful she is, which, is fair, I guess. But Carmella wins the match with the X Factor, which she tried to do in an athletic way. It wasn't terribly done, but it wasn't gracefully done either. It's just everything with Carmella is right down the middle. Like, her character and everything is perfectly fine. I actually like Carmella more than most people do. I think she has something, but they just aren't really sure how to use her. And, if I had my druthers, I probably never would have hired her. But since she's there, I can see what she can do. And she seems to be very versatile in so much as being able to play a lot of different characters and not really having a super ego like some of the others. Like, needs to win, needs to always look great. She seems to have no problem making fun of herself like she's doing with this character right now, where she knows that this mask thing is ridiculous, and everybody does. But she thinks that looking ridiculous in the context of a match versus getting a black eye or getting bruised in the face, she would rather look ridiculous in the match, which, is honestly smart. It's like being a construction worker. Like, you stand there on the side of the road with your little hard hat on, your little glasses, and your little gloves and everything, and you don't look cool, standing there with your hard hat on and your safety glasses, but you're safe, right? You're not gonna get dust in your eyes. You're not gonna get banged in the head with a piece of lumber. So you don't care about how you look. You only care that you're safe. And so in this situation, Carmella looks ridiculous, but she only cares about protecting her face, not how she looks during the match. And if I were writing the story, she would go on a completely Doctor Doom like mask. I would go full Doctor Doom with it. I might even go dashing Cody Rhodes, where at one point somebody hits her in the face. And I know they teased that with Liv Morgan, and they also did it with Mandy Rose too. But I would do it in a serious way with Carmella. But I would, of course, take time with it. It would be somebody like Toni Storm or somebody like that who would, maybe elbow her in the face or something like that. And, maybe break her nose, quote unquote. And then we can do like Carmella as this evil character, which I think would have been great because it works for, vain characters like that, for you to do damage to their face and stuff like that, and for them to flip out. But her wearing a mask, okay, perfectly fine. The match with Liv Morgan was nada. Who cares? We've already seen them wrestle 100 times. I'm ready for them to move on. Keith Lee was wrestling Cedric Alexander, who was wearing fangs, and unknown reasons. Unknown reasons for the fangs. It's just, I don't know if he's a vampire. Is he going to be some kind of animal man? Is he going to be like Cat? Maybe that's what it is, because I think last time I saw him, he was probably trying to be the Black Panther. So is that the goal? Is that he's going to be a cat, so he's going to wear cat fangs? I certainly hope not. I most certainly hope not. In any event, the 3 new characters that they debuted, which were just revamps of guys who already existed, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3. I'm going to say okay with the Damian Priest. I like the half devil, half angel thing. I like that. The yin and the yang. I love that. I just don't like his theme song yet. Maybe if I hear it more, I'll actually come to like it. I like the characterization of him being, regular Damian Priest, wrestling the exact same way. But when you take him, when it's time to go to the next level, he's ready to go. When it's time to, you want to get disqualified, you want to hit him with a chair or something like that, he's going to make you pay for it. So, okay, cool. I'm cool with that. Carmella, I can get behind the concept of why she's wearing the mask. I like the idea of her being the diamond of WWE, is being WWE's crown jewel. I'm okay with that. The mask makes her look ridiculous, but at least there's a reason why she's wearing it. I don't like her theme song though, and I don't like the fact she keeps wrestling Liv Morgan. And I don't like how vapid the character is. Like I've said, her being reduced to her looks is very weird. Especially since she had such layers to the character before when she was doing the champagne thing. And Keith Lee I'm not a fan of the look. The cat scratch tights, not a fan of that. His aggressiveness, I am a fan of that. I do like that he's more aggressive. I liked Keith Lee when he was cooler though. Now he seems to be too intense. I liked when Keith Lee was kind of laid back and, could cut a promo, could talk, could be charming in his own way, but also be intimidating. I think that version of Keith Lee was so much better than the Keith Lee we have now. And I think if we had been introduced to Bearcat Keith Lee before, I don't think I would have been too upset about it as I am now. But I think it's been a regression with Keith Lee. And I think this is the only one where it feels like actually I'm throwing my hands up and I don't know what to do. I waited until I saw the entire package, the new theme, the new look, the new work style, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I liked Keith Lee more when he was basking in my glory, Keith Lee, even though I didn't care for, him trying to do moonsaults and, be flippy over the top rope. I didn't care about any of that stuff. But at least his character felt natural. He felt like he could do a lot of different things. This feels very stifling. Like he's going to be so laser focused and he's not going to be able to relax and cut promos and be, jovial and, talk to the audience and stuff like that. Maybe that's what I'm waiting for, is to see how that whole thing works out. But I'm not feeling the Bearcat thing, man. I ain't feeling it. So the last thing that took place that I want to discuss is the last thing that there is to discuss. And that is Dominic Mysterio versus Austin Theory. And I said on Twitter, and I don't think people understand it was a joke, that this could be a pay-per-view main event in 5 years. Like both of these guys, I think Austin Theory is 25 and Dominic is 22 or 23. So, it's very possible that this could be a main event of a pay-per-view in a couple of years, But this match was mostly about getting Austin Theory over. Austin Theory's new selfie gimmick, which I don't know why they obsessed about him doing silly, goofy things. Like, it's okay, I guess. It's not offensive. At least he's winning. But Dominic needs to work more and work more serious matches and needs to have a serious feud, like by himself. I think that Sami Zayn thing had potential, but they kind of cut the legs off of that. So I don't know, man. The match itself was okay, though. For two young guys who, I think Theory has a lot more experience, despite the fact he's only a little older. He has a lot more experience than Dominic. So maybe if you give it a couple of years, Dominic will be ready and will be more on Austin Theory's level. But I think these two, you could be seeing these two wrestle quite a bit, and not just in nothing matches on Raw, but they could actually get on a main event of a show, and who knows? I think if the whole shit with Austin Theory hadn't happened in 2020, where he got taken off TV and bumped back to NXT, I think he probably would have been a champion by now. At least a United States champion or Intercontinental champion or something like that. because they were really big on that guy, especially when he was in Evolve and the early days of NXT. They were really into Austin Theory. He kind of handicapped himself a little bit, but you know, he's working his way back into it. They still want to showcase him, so it'd be cool, you know. And I like Austin Theory, generally speaking, but his characters haven't been doing him any favors, which is, you know, a general problem. So we sit back and wait for what else they got, because they got some more stuff coming. We have to see Toni Storm, who they haven't brought out there yet, and she's still going to be the wild child of the 80s or what. Karrion Kross is still biting my lip because I have no idea what they're going to have for that guy. So I'm interested in what they do with those two, and I think there are some more people that that have not showed up yet. So Raw they're going to change people's characters, so we're going to be on the lookout. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.